On Larry King Now, Grammy-nominated comedian Tig Notaro.
When comedians go on stage, a lot of times they'll open the show with, hi, good evening, any birthdays tonight, anyone drinking, with that tone. And so I decided to start it with that same delivery, but saying, hello, good evening, I have cancer, how are you doing tonight?
After a double mastectomy, how do you get through it psychologically? I've talked to Nancy Reagan about this, I talked to Betty Ford.
And naturally, you come to me next.
Well, how do you handle it when during those early days when they didn't laugh?
Well, one time I ran off stage. That's how I handled that. I don't know, it's kind of that weird thing when something's really good in life and then it's not. You remember how good it was, and so you want to get back to how good it was, and that's kind of what keeps driving you in stand-up.
Plus, if you could have something named after you, what would it be? How about a breast
Your next
cancer
child?
clinic?
Oh, sure, a breast cancer.
Or
your next child.
All next on Larry King Now. Welcome to Larry King Now. Our special guest, Tig Notaro, comedian, actor, writer. In 2012, Tig shot to fame thanks to a set she performed at the Largo here in LA called Live. And thanks to Louis C.K., who released her performance online, it sold 100,000 copies in 6 weeks. Nominated for a Grammy Award for Best Comedy Album. Tig has been named to Business Insider's list of 50 women who are changing the world, and Rolling Stone's 50 Funniest People Now list. She has a podcast, writing a memoir, recently gave a TED Talk, and there's a documentary being made about her life. She's also right now a nationwide tour called Boyish Girl Interrupted. Tell me what happened that night when you went outside yourself and did a set that you had never done before.
Well, I already had a show booked at Largo, and before my life fell apart and before my diagnosis. And
the diagnosis was breast cancer?
Yeah, and invasive cancer. And I just, before the show, the day before the show, I went in and got my prognosis, and they didn't know if the cancer had spread or not, and I decided to still do the show. And I wasn't sure how to perform that night because I knew I didn't feel attached to old jokes or stories I had done previously, and I was right in the middle of my entire life falling apart, so I thought I would try and make light of that. And when
you did it funny?
The best of my ability. And when comedians go on stage, a lot of times they'll open the show with, hi, good evening, any birthdays tonight, anyone drinking, with that tone. And I didn't know how to start my show with all the material, so I decided to start it with that same delivery, but saying, hello, good evening, I have cancer, how are you doing tonight? And so it cracked open the audience.
Did it help you?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It's cathartic.
Absolutely, and the audience we guided each other through that night.
What did Louis C.K., he followed you, right?
He was backstage, and
what did he think of this?
He was, I think, in shock. Just like, there were other comedians like Ed Helms and Bill Burr and Mary Lynn Rice Cub. They were all standing backstage and watching me talk about the events that had unfolded over the 4 months. And when I finished my set and walked off stage, they were all just jaws agape.
Was the audience laughing harshly, or?
There was a mix. It was awkward laughter. There were just stunned. Didn't know what was going on, and then the more I talked, people realized I wasn't joking, and then there were also tears. I've never done a show like that.
So Louis C.K. then sent it out?
He called me the next day and said that show needs to be heard by everybody, and I thought he was crazy, and he said, I want to release it from my website, and I said no at first, and about a month and a half later I realized that if it could help other people, that I shouldn't sit on it, so I released it.
And your career took off?
Yeah.
Funny life. Now, what happened with the breast cancer? Did you have a mastectomy?
Yeah, I had a double mastectomy, and I opted, not to do chemo. They suggested it, but I opted not to.
Why?
If they felt like they had gotten all the cancer cells out, I just didn't want to put myself through chemo. And, but I decided to continue treatment with hormone blocking. And so that's what I've been doing.
Is that rolling the dice?
I guess it could be, but...
Do strangers now come over to you and say, you know, I've dealt with this differently now?
Yeah. I mean, people that are even just having a bad day after they hear my album.
Since that spiraled you to fame, do you now continue to do dark comedy?
No. More so, I do more personal comedy. I tell more...
you didn't do before?
I would touch on personal things, but I stayed pretty distant and observational, whereas now I'll reflect on my childhood and my life now, and kind of anything that happens, I try to incorporate the personal...
No one in the audience stands up and says, do the cancer bit.
Yeah, I mean, people...
Does that happen?
Well, I think people are showing up because they heard that album, and but you know, I don't have cancer anymore, so I can't do a cancer show. There's the aftermath, and I've
Well,
made...
you could do jokes about it.
I joke about having had it and the aftermath, but it's not. It's a very small portion of my show now.
So what's life like for you now?
Embarrassingly good.
Why embarrassingly?
Because it's, I want to give it away. I want to give to other people. I mean, I'm in love. My career's going well. My health is in a good place, as far as I know. You know.
Does that disappoint you in a way?
No, it's just, if I 2 years ago could have seen myself healthy and happy, I wouldn't have believed that that was a possibility. It was a very dark time.
Do you remain close to Louis C.K.?
Yeah, we were friends before that happened, and he would request me as his opener.
You still open for him?
No, that was years ago.
You don't open for anyone anymore, do you?
You know, if a friend asks me to, I'll do it. But yeah, Louis and I, we work together in different capacities here and there.
Quickly, what is his genius?
Oh my gosh.
He's different.
Yeah, I mean, he's so prolific. It drives you crazy as a comedian watching somebody write and have that sort of keen insight that he does.
Up next, Tig on the Grammy she almost nabbed. Plus, we'll talk about her new tour. Stay with us. This is a Grammy.
That is the current Grammy for Best Comedy Album, which I'm very, very proud of.
It's heavy, too.
I know. And I was nominated 6 years in a row and finally won. Very
How
proud.
did it feel when they announced your name?
It felt better than The Love from a Human.
Kathy Griffin, you were competing against her.
Yeah.
And that was her discussing winning. You were nominated for the same award. Were you happy to see it go to a female, at least? Or were you disappointed?
You know, to be honest, it was kind of neither. I didn't do that album to get a Grammy nomination, and so it was at a time in my life where I didn't know if I was going to live. So a Grammy nomination was such an over-the-top.
Still at the height of the cancer.
Yeah, it was such a ridiculous opportunity that came up, and you know, when they announced Kathy Griffin, you know, I think she's great, and I just thought, you know.
You were quoted in Time magazine as saying, people would say when I started doing stand-up that it's a guy's world and guys are jerks out there and the road's tough and I just didn't have a problem. Is it a level playing field now?
I don't know if it is a level playing field. I don't have the experiences. I don't know if it's, I didn't have those experiences with guys. I found them supportive and easy to work with, and maybe because I'm not the typical girly comedian.
What's the new tour like? Where are you going? What are you doing?
Oh, I just got back from Europe. I'm going all around the U.S. I think I'm doing 30 or 35 cities. I'm going to Australia and Canada, and it's all new material. I haven't toured, I think, in almost 3 years. I'm also producing a comedy festival in D.C. called the Benson Ball, and that's in October.
The Benson Ball?
The Benson Ball. It's named after a guy named Ola Benson who died laughing watching a fish called Wanda. So, you know, we figured if you laugh to death, you might as well get a festival named after you.
It's a good idea.
Yeah.
Do you sometimes forget what city you're in?
Always.
Yeah?
Always. I don't know where I am right now.
When you work in Europe, do you work to only English-speaking audiences?
Yeah. I mean, there might be people that don't speak English and I don't know it, but...
Your quote is saying, "I consider my shows like I'm hosting a party." Explain.
I'm very interactive. I don't feel removed from the audience, and I feel very in tune with...
Talk directly to them, work off them?
Both.
You have them participate?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't feel the wall at all.
So some night it goes different than other nights?
Every night. I have no idea what's going to happen. And
But you have set material?
I have set material. I would say half of it is set. The other half is a free-for-all.
Louis, or Louis C.K., you can pronounce it both ways, said of the night you did that infamous set at Largo, "It was one of the greatest stand-up performances I ever saw. I can't really describe it, but I was crying and laughing and listening like never in my life. The show is an amazing example of what comedy can be, a way to visit your worst fears and laugh at them. Tig proved that everything is funny and has to be." Did that change you that night?
Yeah.
For example, did you ever see others do comedy about their own frailties?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely, that's kind of what comedy is to some degree. I think what was jarring about that night was I was right in the middle of it. It wasn't that I was through my cancer. I was right in the middle of it. And I was also right in the middle of the unexpected loss of my mother, and I had also contracted a bacteria that was eating my digestive tract. I had lost 20 pounds. I couldn't eat food. I was in the middle. I was like ground zero, rock bottom.
You lost 20 pounds?
Yeah, I've put some weight back on.
Was your mother's death unexpected?
Yeah, she when I got out of the hospital for it's C. diff, which is what I lost the weight from. I got out of the hospital a few days later, and my mother tripped and hit her head and passed away.
How old was she?
65.
After a double mastectomy, how do you get through it psychologically? I've talked to Nancy Reagan about this. I talked to Betty Ford.
And naturally, you come to me next. At first, it was, I didn't have reconstructive surgery, and I was very uncomfortable with my body because I only have scars across my chest, and it took me several weeks before I looked down at my body because it was just scars.
And how do you get through that?
You know what? I think it was just a matter of finally looking at the scars that I had dreaded looking at my body being changed.
Are you surprised when people recognize you now that you're famous? Are you comfortable with it?
I mean, I am. It's not overwhelming. It's not like I can't go anywhere. You know, people recognize me, but it's a manageable fame that I have. I don't dream about it becoming bigger than it is now.
Our guest is Tig Notaro. Up next, high school dropouts and Paula Poundstone. We tackle both in the next segment. Favorite comedian as a child? Who made you laugh?
Paula Poundstone.
Paula Poundstone. What? I know Paula. I know.
Oh
Whatever happened to Paula?
I don't know, but I loved her. She had those specials on cable, and I loved them.
That's amazing.
Is that what you mean?
No, I mean, now, the funny part about that is nobody's favorite comedian is Paula Poundstone. True.
Nobody's
Whose favorite comedian is Paula Poundstone?
Mine and hers.
Why?
Oh, I think she's so brilliant. I mean, I was just talking to somebody about the similarity between Paula Poundstone and Joan Rivers in that they're both amazing joke writers, and then they're also unbelievably alive and available in the moment on stage.
How come Joan Rivers' career just blossomed and Paula Poundstone seemed to sort of even out and people don't mention her?
People don't. Oh my gosh, I mention her all the time. I don't know what it is. Maybe Joan, maybe she's more aggressive or something. Paul's a little, you know, come to her.
You dropped out of high school in 9th grade?
I failed 3 grades. I failed 8th grade twice, and then I failed 9th grade, and then I dropped out.
Why did you fail?
And then I got my GED, and then my cat ate my GED. So.
How did you get it?
I don't know. It's a blur. I don't even remember getting it.
It's equivalent to a high school diploma.
Yeah, I have it. I can prove it.
You were a bad student?
Horrible. I have no interest. I still have no interest. And I have a fear of like having kids and how could I possibly make them go to school, you know? They would look at my track record. And
you had that from the start, kindergarten, 1st grade?
I think it really started to dwindle in 5th grade. And it just never turned around again. But I mean, I found a loophole, I guess, because things are going okay.
How did your mom handle that?
I mean, she encouraged me to stick with it, but then after a certain point, she was like,
When did you start doing comedy?
Well, probably in the classrooms. Yeah, and so that's actually what prepared me. It was like I went to college early. I was the class clown in school, and then now everything is, you know.
Where'd you do your first paid stand-up?
I think it was in Bakersfield. I found Hal Linden's wallet on Christmas Day in New York and returned it, and I didn't even know it was Barney, what was
Miller.
it? Barney Miller, yeah. I just was like, I found this guy's wallet, and my friend's aunt and uncle were like, that's Hal Linden, that's Barney Miller. And I was like, oh, okay. Well, I returned it, and his manager, I guess, represented comedians and learned that I was a comedian, and then got me a show booked in Bakersfield, California. And it was a nightmare, the show, but I made money.
You were not good.
I was not.
Well, you said it was a nightmare.
Well, I would say me combined with the Bakersfield audience was not a match. We weren't good for each other.
So that didn't discourage you?
No, that wasn't the only. I mean, I'd had plenty of gigs before that. They just weren't paid.
Well, how do you handle it when during those early days when they didn't laugh?
Well, one time I ran off stage. That's how I handled that. And when I say run or ran,
walked off.
I casually left. And then I don't know. It's kind of that weird thing when something's really good in life, and then it's not. You remember how good it was, and so you want to get back to how good it was, and that's kind of what keeps driving you in stand-up.
Do you see things funny, or do you say funny things? There's someone used to explain the difference between a comic and a comedian. One sees things funny, another says funny things.
I think it's both, you know. I think there's certain word choices that can make a huge difference in describing what you've seen. And it's really interesting when you know, 2 different people could have the same day and one person wouldn't have a story to tell and another person would see things.
Well, the funny person always has something funny. I had open heart surgery, and I make fun of it. Now, that wasn't a funny day, but it's foxhole humor.
Yeah.
You look back, it's funny.
Let's hear some of your...
I'm not going to do my shtick now, but, well, for example, my surgeon had only 9 fingers. Okay, Tig will answer your questions in our final segment, plus we'll play a game of If You Only Knew. That's next. He came into the room, he had no right thumb. We're back with Tig Notaro. You've done some acting. Want to do that more seriously?
Yeah, I find it really, like, I don't enjoy watching myself do stand-up, but with acting...
You like it?
Well, it's not that I think, wow, I'm fascinating. It's more like, it's just, it's foreign to me. And so watching myself.
Did your girlfriend have an effect on you wanting to be an actor?
No. We were both doing that separately, and then we just met on that, it's called
So you don't
Interworld.
dream of being a movie star?
No. All my dreams have oddly come true. So.
We have some social media questions for you.
Okay.
My name is Istifer tweets, before you ask her anything, tell her first of all, congrats.
I have a podcast called Professor Blastoff, and
Professor Blastoff.
yeah,
How often do you do it?
weekly.
How long, a half hour?
It's about an hour, and that's
Just you or
It's
guests?
me. I have a couple of co-hosts, and yeah, we've been doing it for I think 3 years now, and that's something I say on the when anybody says really anything that's not that interesting. I always say, well, first of all, congrats.
At Dan from Orange says via Twitter, do you do any voices?
I do, but
Like who?
nobody
Oh.
nobody famous.
You just do a voice, like a foreign voice or
It would be too uncomfortable for me to do this here.
Okay.
Well, that was easy.
Daniel Asimo tweets, why are you not on social media?
Well, I have a Facebook fan page, and
That's good.
that's social media. But I don't want constant contact.
Benjamin, in other words, you're a little weird.
A little weird, yes.
Benjamin Utah tweets, where could I get a ham?
This is a
Podcast.
Professor.
You must have do you know how many people come to your podcast?
I think it's a popular podcast. That's hilarious.
Okay, this is a game of if you only knew. I just throw questions at
Okay.
you. Remember the first person you kissed?
I do.
Who was it?
His name was John.
John.
Yeah.
Is it Mississippi?
Texas.
Texas.
Yeah.
You ever find out what happened to him?
No, I hope he's okay.
What keeps you up at night?
My schedule for the following day.
Guilty pleasure.
Guilty pleasure would be country music,
Beatles or the Stones?
Beatles.
Childhood celebrity crush.
John Travolta.
If you could have something named after you, what would it be? How about a breast
Your next
cancer
child?
clinic?
Oh, sure. A breast cancer clinic.
That'd be
Or
nice.
your next child.
Or your next child, yeah.
Your next child.
City. That'll be the day. City with the loudest fans.
Oh, gosh. I would say Portland.
Oregon. Mm-hmm. If you could be someone else for a day, who would you choose?
I am curious what it is like. You know, people like Oprah and Madonna.
Yeah, you'd be a great Oprah.
Would I?
Oh, yeah. When is the last time you saw Taylor Dane?
Gosh, I guess it's probably been a couple of years.
You do a stand-up about Taylor.
Yeah.
One thing you wish you could change about yourself?
I wish I was a little better with crowds. I'm not good in crowds.
Wait a minute. You perform before crowds.
Right.
But you're not, that sounds like Nixon.
Yeah.
He loved politics but hated people.
Yeah, I like at a party, I'm realizing the more time goes on, I would rather just be one-on-one.
Well, you're laid-back, subtle. Your humor is obviously
The best.
not out. You're not out there like Joan Rivers. You're not out there.
Yeah.
Where in the world do you feel the happiest?
I think at home.
Where is home when you're traveling?
Los Angeles.
Favorite Tig pun?
Gosh. The Tig pun, like the on my name? Is that
I don't
what?
know. Yeah, your name. Where does it come from?
Well, my brother named me when I was 2, but it wasn't a pun. He just was a stupid
How old
baby.
was he?
He was 3. And
You were close to 2
yeah.
or 3.
Yeah, he just couldn't say my real name.
Are you still close with him?
Mm-hmm. Very.
Best piece of advice you ever got?
I live my life based on, I always think of the very simple saying of use it or lose it, because I think it applies across the board with your body, your mind, your relationships.
Yeah, I get that. And finally, tell me something people don't know about you.
I'm way more emotional than,
Really? I would not have guessed that.
yeah, I'm definitely,
Like right now, inside you're bursting.
yes.
You want to scream.
No, I don't want to scream. I'm emotional, like I would tear up a lot quicker than people would imagine.
Thank you, dear.
Thank
Great
you.
meeting you.
Nice meeting you.
Tig Notaro. Buy tickets for her Boyish Girl Interrupted. Go to tignotaro.com and you'll find out where she's playing. As always, you can find me on Twitter at King's Things, and I'll see you next time.